Welcome to Wind Down with Kev, a weekly podcast with Kevin Spann, the insurance guru. Each week, listen to Kevin discuss current hot topics with community leaders, business owners, and more.
So welcome to Wind Down with Kev. My name is Kevin Spann. I'm your host for the evening. Kevin Spann, the insurance guru. Kevin Spann, the Allstate agent. Kevin Spann, the man with the plan to give back to the community and do everything I can to talk to us important people at a time like this. Tonight, I am joined by my good friend. Why don't I let you go ahead and introduce yourself? My next guest actually needs no introduction. The young man I've known close to 15 years right now, but I'm going to let him tell you his name, who he is, what he does, and we're going to jump in and go forward right there. So talk to the people that's going to listen to this podcast. Tell them your name, tell them who you are, and tell them what you do.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Paul Sibblies, the principal of Winedance High School. It's a pleasure to be here today with my man, Kevin Spann. Nothing like being around anyone who want to change students' lives. And I really appreciate what you do for them and this great community, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. That's a humble introduction. I'm not going to let you get away with that. People, the man that I'm talking to is much, much more than that. First and foremost, he's a man of God. He's a family man. He's a husband. He's a father. He posts about his parents, so he's also a very good son. He's a principal at our school district, my alumni, Winedance Memorial High School, proud member of the class in 1980. And he is a man with a heart for the community. So I wanted to do this, Paul, because this was an incredible year. This was an incredible year in so many levels. So before we go forward into everything that's taking place this year, let's dial back to 2019. We had the good pleasure of having a championship team that won a county championship, and the whole community came together to watch that happen. So let's talk about that emotion. Let's talk about what that felt like.
Oh, man, it's nothing like sports, first of all, I'm at every game at the high school. The boys know it. Simply because I'm here today doing this job because of the grace of God was sports. I played almost everything in high school. I played football, basketball, baseball. I ran track.
Nice.
So to me, sports is an important tool and vehicle for these young men in the high school. So that particular year, I can tell you, Coach Baker, shout out to Barry Baker, coached his butt off that year. We had a very talented group, a bunch of young men that worked hard and achieved part of their goal. But I must say, all those young men also were eligible to play.
That's important.
And highly important. As I say to them sometimes, you're not here to go to transition to the University of Straight Path.
That's right.
Want you to get on a straight and narrow path so you could be successful. So we put everything in place to ensure that these young men take advantage academically. So when they conclude their year playing ball, they can transition into college.
You said a lot. I want to go from that right into, after a very successful season, the whole alumni was excited. I made it to a few games, not as many as I would like, but definitely we were able to follow it live on Facebook. Compliments of assistant coach Sharon Baker, JV head basketball coach, and some others that showed it. So we're all excited. We come to the end of the 2019 school year, and then we go into the summer, and we're faced with the challenge that we don't have a budget, and we're faced with the fear and the concern that there will be no buses, no activities, no athletics for the kids at all.
Yeah, I tell you, that was one of the biggest challenges I ever came across as a principal of Winedance High School. it began with a couple of young men sending me text messages. Mr. Sibblies, is this really true? We're not playing ball next year. What's going on with sports? And this one particular text said, well, I have to transfer out. You know, I'm going to transfer to play ball somewhere else, but I want to come back and graduate at Wyandanch.
Wow.
That particular text didn't allow me to sleep that night. And I woke up the next morning just with a mission to pray first and ask God, you know, to just lead me. And no matter what, there are always some good people in this world.
That's
and
right.
The Bible is about action, you know, ask, you shall receive, seek, you'll find, knock, and it'll open. So I put the challenge out there and went ahead and did just that. And lo and behold, the doors just started opening and opening and open till it became an abundance of help.
Beautiful.
And say, I couldn't do it myself, you know. There's quite a few staff there that was right by my side to ensure that, you know, we did pull this off. And we were able to move forward with the sports. And I think I lost just one particular student who many probably know about.
Of course. Of course.
Went to the enemy.
That's okay. It worked out well for him. He actually led another district to a county championship, and he did well for himself. But the good book also says you have to have a vision, and you shared that vision, because reading about it from the outside looking in, I felt devastated and wasn't sure what we could do. But once you had that vision, you began to share it. One of the scriptures that I run my business by is write the vision and make it plain, so the people see it, they can run with it. You have to write things down. You have to put a vision out there. And then all the help that was there all along that's just waiting on the sidelines, it can come in and people can propel it and move it forward. And certainly by you being obedient, by hearing the vision, by sharing the vision, you got things done. We opened up the school year. It's funny, I was thinking about this past weekend, attending the graduation. Before the school year started, I met you right on the back of the football field outside the gym. And we were able to give the kids the T-shirts, the football players, saying we are the Warriors. We did it for the football team and the basketball team. And it felt so good because they were back. And fast forward, you had me at a guest at the pep rally, and the energy was amazing. The energy was amazing of the class of 2020. The energy was amazing in the high school, just with all of the students. Talk to me about what it felt like being at the pep rally for a school year that wasn't supposed to have any activities, but to have the whole gym filled with students just excited about, you know, what had actually taken place.
Well, you know, this is about spirit, man, school spirit. You know, this is what keep you going. This is what you guys still today talk about, you know, the spirit of everything, you know, especially the homecomings and the flows and, you know, the things you did, the little parties, you know. These kids work for that and they deserve it. And they have Wyandanch pride, you know. Yes. We talk about that, you know, as Warriors. We just persevere. We don't give up. We know we are talented, we're gifted, and we allow it to enhance what we have, you know? So just being able to have the sports, the kids were very excited, as you see. And after that, pep rally came out and support the teams. So, you know, we were just fortunate and we were just blessed. And when you're full of all that energy and happiness, you know, that's what you witnessed that day.
I definitely did get to witness it that day, and it had all the elements to make for a very exciting school year. Let's come off the topic of sports for a minute, and let's talk about something else unique that you brought to the school. Let's talk about your program for the young men. Let's talk about the program from the young Kappa men. Talk to me. Tell me what the exact formal name of the program is.
Well, it's the Kappa Leaguers. They fall within my fraternity. And this is really a long story. About 4 years ago, we were doing an event for HBCU College Fair. So while planning the event, we wanted to conclude the event with a step show.
Nice.
Yeah, it would have been if we had a team. So we were out there trying to find teams to step for the end of the show. So that didn't happen. So I called up a bunch of my fraternity brothers who I haven't seen in over 25, 30 years.
Nice.
But we stepped together all through colleges. We did the New York City step show here. We was on Stomp. We was on New York City Undercover. We stepped with Michael Jackson.
Wow.
Yeah, it just, didn't come across, didn't happen because he had gotten ill. But I called these brothers and I told them where I was, what I was doing, what we were trying to do. And they came out to support me.
Outstanding.
And they came from all over. Now you got a bunch of old men. So we had one practice. I kid you not. We went through one practice out in the city, NYU, and we went out there and we performed.
Wow.
So right after that performance, the very next day, about 8 young men came in my office and they're like, Mr. Sibblies, what's fraternity?
Yes.
What's stepping? So I started to share what it is to them. And they said, why we can't have that here?
Yes.
Now, the funny thing about that, Kev, since I've been working even with Mr. Hodge, we kept saying, man, we need a mentoring club. We need a mentoring program. And we were looking on the outside, coming in. And lo and behold, when he said that, I'm thinking, well, I'm the principal. I can't do this, And it was an uneasy feeling. And I came home and I shared it with my wife, and she gave me the blessing to just go ahead and do it. Because now you're taking time away from the family. So I said, okay. And we started the mentorship program. Now, the thing about the mentorship program at the time is voluntary.
Yes.
I don't ask any kid. I tell them what it is. They come and they join. So by doing so, I teach these young men some principles. You got to graduate on time, respect women at all times, nonviolence. They take a pledge against, any violence in the community and in the school as well. And so they were living by it. So after the first group, it just kind of took off.
Yes.
Took off in the sense that, we ended up on the news. They came to see, they heard what we were doing in the community. And now I had parents in Copiague, Amityville, Half Hollows, give me a call. They want their son to be a part of this thing,
It's a beautiful thing. Most people don't understand how much kids want to belong to something positive. If there's sports, that's one thing, but not everybody's athletically gifted. Just a little bit of education for the people that are listening. Kappa Alpha Psi, the fraternity that Mr. Sibblies is speaking of, it's one of the 8 predominantly Black fraternities and sororities. My only problem with the Kappa Leaguers is that I am a member of Phi Beta Sigma, so I wish you would have started the Sigma League. But, the one who has the vision, they get to do the work. I love what you did on several levels. I heard about it. I reached out to you as I often do when I want to connect the school and the community to something I have in mind. And you guys came to Wyandanch Day and you tore it up. You know, the whole community got to see the young men march down Spray Path and come in the park. And you had them dressed to the T, all black, bow ties, canes, the whole 9 yards. And the discipline they exhibited, I think that's the thing that stood out to me the most.
Yeah. Now, the thing about this, Kev, that's most important to me as we talk about this program, mentorship program, is, you know, when I started the program 3-4 years ago, we haven't had any gang issues in the school. You know, when you do mentorship program, it's about saving lives.
Yes.
You know, that's the bottom line, saving lives, to allow our young men, all right? So it changed the culture of that building drastically. You know, my only fear was I was spending so much time with these young men that now the young ladies, they had a lot to say.
Yes.
You know? They really had a lot to say, and you know, I just had to get them to understand why I couldn't. And I would just not put myself in predicaments like that where, you know, things can be said.
Go
know?
the wrong way. I absolutely understand.
You know, because unfortunately, you know, some people look for just little things, you know. And so I shared that with them, and, you know, they had a clear understanding, you know, because I was being called male chauvinist. You know?
I have a name to call you. I call it being a leader. Well, fast forward to 2019. I know through conversations, I don't know a lot of details, but during this school year, a girls mentorship program was actually started. I don't know if it was officially the Delta Club or what the name was. I had a conversation with Lisa Simpson about what you guys were getting ready to do, but you know, not all things can take place at the same time. But the words "in time" are two words I use all the time. In due time, everything that we desire will come to pass if we work, if we're patient, if we're diligent and persistent. So that was also getting ready to take place this year too, is my understanding.
You know, thanks be to God for my AP, Miss Valina Woodley. When she came on board, I just kind of made her aware that I need this program.
Yes.
We really need it. And she's a Delta, you know, but it's not under Delta Sigma Theta sorority. It's a Rite to Passage is the name. It's our own program that she created. And she's working with the young ladies now at Wyandanch.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, and Miss Lisa Simpson is working in concert with her.
Well, Lisa's excellent. I've known Lisa's family my whole life. I don't know a time when I didn't know Lisa's family. So that's how far we go back. That's how strong our roots are in the Wyandanch community. You said something earlier about once you started the Kappa Leaguers, there was no gang problem in the school. I think having the Kappa Leaguers, it filled the gap that's in every person's heart, not just every student's. I think there's a sense that everybody wants to belong to something that's a little bit bigger than themselves. Everyone wants that family. Maybe they don't have a strong nuclear family like you come from or that I come from, so they want that sense of belonging. So I would bet that having the Kappa Leaguers and giving them that sense of belonging took away the energy of something lesser like joining a gang.
Hey, you know, these are our kids. These are our sons. These are our daughters, you know. When I went into it with my heart, my soul, everything, all right? And so, you know, they wear the Kappa League symbol, the shield. There's a meaning behind it. They had to accept the responsibility behind that. So what I tell them is, you know, there's a difference between a gang and what we call a fraternity,
yes.
Right? So I get them to understand where you look at fraternity, you could almost label us as a gang.
Yes.
But the difference, because of the colors and the statue and the signs and the things of that nature, I said, the difference between the gang and us is the gang is there to bring down the community, but the fraternity and the sorority is here to uplift the community.
Absolutely.
All right? And I'm a clear example of that, you know? So here we are working now. They bought into it, and they have done tremendous work around the community, just doing so many community events and so many awareness events that we have and promote. And, you know, it's nothing like having these young men come back and then give back to the ones that's now behind them. It's the best thing when, you know, you have the ceremony and you look out in the audience and all the alumni came back. You know, that's when, you know, you're really building something special.
And that's what it's all about. One of the things that you said about the principles that really jumped out to me, you talked about the principle of it being nonviolent. I don't know if you remember when you and I first met, but I remember that Mr. Hodge, he brought you to an event that I was doing at a church in the community. It was called the Stop the Violence event. It was way back in 2007. It was both a church and community-based event. It was at a small church off Otis Avenue. It was at night. And here you are, you and Mr. Hodge, you're administrators in the school. You're not a resident of Wyandanch, but you didn't count it as robbery to take your time to come out at night. We had performances with the kids. We had contests. Some of the kids won money, and they all came up with their own ideas of stopping violence. So anytime you're doing something positive in the community that gives the kids a chance to express themselves in any positive way that's nonviolent, you're always going to have my support and my allegiance to what you're doing. So I really appreciate it. I sleep peacefully knowing that people that care about the community that I'm from, that my family has lived in for longer than my life. My family's lived directly across the street from high school for 64 years. So we're deeply, deeply invested and rooted in the community. Okay, so we were having this conversation. We were on track from a school year that began without a budget, without hope, if you will, that found hope, that found activity, that had a football season. I was able to come to the homecoming game. It had a basketball season. And fast forward to March of this year, and it gets attacked by an invisible enemy. This invisible enemy, COVID-19, the pandemic, it hit us so hard in every way possible. Talk to me about March of 2020, how it impacted you as a leader of the school. Anything you want to share with how it impacted you personally? I'm all ears. I'm just listening.
Oh, not man. You have to be ready for anything. You know, that COVID-19 was expected. When it came, we were supposed to be out for a week, and we were preparing for just that. And then obviously kind of just escalated to what it was. Now, the thing about this is many schools were not ready in the sense that you'll be conducting classroom lessons from home. We weren't equipped with the necessary tools for all the kids, you know, the Chromebooks, you know. And when we went to purchase, obviously we went to purchase when everybody else was purchasing. So there's a waiting list, a waiting time, you know, during that time. And
Big demand, very little supply. I understand.
Very little supply. Yeah. So the other challenge is you have some staff who weren't really technology savvy. Now, they were apprehensive about, you know, the technology aspect, all right? Then you have some students who fall in the same category. Then you have students who might not have internet access at home.
Yes.
there was just so many elements that come into play that, you know, you just ask God for just guidance and help with this thing, you know. But we hit the ground running through the leadership of Dr. Talbert, you know. We were able to give the teachers some assistance, you know, provide some, you would say, a snapshot PD on Google Classroom. But the takeaway from me is this, through this, you know, when I receive a phone call from a parent who their child thought they were there to ensure that they show up for class. Lo and behold, she was there to learn a math problem.
Okay.
All right. So she never understood algebra, but she sat during her son's lesson and learned algebra. And she called me at the end of the year just to share that with me, how happy she was to finally.
That's an amazing thing. That is amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah, you know, so that's one of the best takeaway from distance learning.
So not only did you get the staff up to speed, you got the students through, but there's a parent who later in life learned algebra. That's amazing. Shout out to that teacher. And I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out my good friend, Dr. Talbot, for her leadership, undoubtedly, during this time. That's amazing. You talked about the factors that you couldn't control. As you know, I own and operate an all-state agency. We had to shut down like everyone else did, and we had to step up with technology. Everyone had to go home. Everyone had to be wireless. Everyone needed a laptop. But there are some factors that you just don't know. You don't know the wireless strength in anybody's house. You just don't know. There's different degrees of technology skills for everybody. So it caught us by surprise. But 3 months later, I think we're better for it as a nation. It kind of dragged anybody that was dragging their feet and didn't want to participate in the digital world.
All right.
Here it is. Young people, I tell them all the time, if they're looking for a summer job, I said, don't look for a job. Look for one person that can't navigate the digital world that you can help. And you'll find your purpose. Just help one person. Somebody is being asked to do an email or something on their phone and they don't know how to do it. They might be in your family. They might be a neighbor, but help them. And while helping them, you will find your way. Trust and believe. Older people need younger people with these skills now like never, ever, ever before.
Right. Yeah, you know, it's, you know, when people been doing certain things for a while, you know, they're kind of set in their ways, you know, so when you try to throw something new at them, they're really apprehensive of jumping in and going ahead, you know. But you know, there was some great takeaways from the teachers too, man. They during our meetings, they talk about these new programs they suddenly found and how it can make their planning more easier for them to do, you know, and they're sharing. They start sharing now. And, you know, that's what education is all about, you know, ongoing learning. You never know everything.
No.
You know? And when you can have an open-minded spirit like that, you're going to excel in what you do, you know. And each year, I let the staff know during orientation every year, leave your egos at the door. If you allow your ego to take you over, you will never become the master teacher that you really want to become, you know, because you feel you can't ask questions because of what somebody's going to think, you know. So I always start with me. I tell them I don't know everything.
No.
And when I know where to go.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me change directions a little bit. So in addition to you being a principal, leading an entire school district through this change, I'm a big fan of yours on Facebook. I'm a fan of yours as a father. I know the amount of time that the job must demand. I know the extracurricular time you're volunteering, but you seem to operate by a principle that I operate by, which is you probably don't miss any games. So talk to us about your sons first. Tell me their names. Tell me what sport they play. and tell me what kind of dad are you in the stands?
Oh man, I'm blessed. My wife Carolyn has blessed me with two boys, Luke and Aaron. Luke is now 16 years old and Aaron is 13. Luke plays baseball and basketball. He played North Valley Stream North High School. He was the captain of both.
Nice.
He was the leading scorer in basketball for his team last year. His brother Aaron, he took it a step further. He's playing football, basketball, and he's playing baseball.
Nice.
And as you indicated, I just don't miss those games. You know, that's the cutoff point. When I'm not at a wine dance basketball game, everybody know where I am.
Exactly.
All right. You know, it's important. I have to lead by example, you know,
Yes.
and both of them are also Kappa Leaguers.
Yes.
So, you know, it helps me to not put myself in a predicament where I'm neglecting my very own. Everything starts at home. All right. And so to just have them with me with a clear understanding of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it is always an ongoing conversation, you know. My greatest investment is my two sons, you know.
Yes.
And I have to make sure, you know, they're ready for their success in society. So I teach them the expectation of the home, the values of the home. And then we're Christians, we're Pentecostals, the church, and they're very involved in the church as well. So they're also musicians, you know, in the church.
Excellent.
You know, so we want them to be grounded.
Excellent.
You know, and I'm blessed that they're really good young men in school. I don't get calls.
Yes.
And I don't take that lightly, you know. So as a dad, you know, yeah, I'm at the game. I'm on pins, but I never yell at them. It's always afterwards, just the ride home, you know. Tell me what you think, and I'll tell you what I think.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. You're a father after my own. You're a father after my own heart. So you and I have a lot in common. I have 3 sons. My 2 older ones, they've already successfully used sports as a ticket to college and a ticket to graduate from college to open up the world. And my youngest is 16, the same age as Luke, and he's going through the academic and athletic process right now. Now, Paul, I can tell you that my sons were good enough to earn scholarships to college. I can't tell you much about any game, but I do remember a lot of car rides. And I saw it the same way that you did. And I always wanted to know what they saw. Rather than me telling them or yelling at them, I would always say, what'd you see on that play? What'd you see in that situation? And whether it was on the court or on the field situation, or a situation where they weren't playing, how they conducted themselves, were you a leader on the bench? You have to be a leader in all of those situations. When you're the man and when you're the last play on the team, it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing if you have the right mental approach. So that's excellent. I'm real happy to hear the time you're investing, that they're well-rounded, they're playing multiple sports, and that they're active in church. Each and every one of those things is critical and important. The most impressive thing you said to me is that you're getting them ready for success. And I like that. I like that. There's not enough people that have that clear outcome defined. Like the expectation that they're going to be successful is already there. The only question is, what are they going to be successful at? But failure is not an option.
There you go. And you being a man in a fraternity, you know, I'm sure you know what excuses are.
Tools of the weak and the incompetent.
Right.
Made to build monuments of nothing.
Nothingness. All right. And every Kappa Leaguer know that, and they also know Invictus.
Yes.
Right. So they all know that, and they have to live that, you know. they didn't just repeat these poems, but they had to be able to understand
Yes.
the root of these poems and who wrote it, why they wrote it, and life is just that. You're a young Black man where things are not going to be given to you.
No.
It's imperative that you work and that you really have good coping skills to deal with, what it is you're going to be challenged with as you transition out, And so it's the same thing with my son. There's just no excuses, And with the ride, I always ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give them the answer, I always ask the question and kind of lead them to self-correct.
Yes.
And me, a ball player also, it's hard.
so let me ask you about you. I think I know that you played football at Hofstra, but tell me your journey from high school to college sports and how did you become a principal?
Oh man, I'm still trying to find out. I tell you, I went to Kennedy High School in the Bronx, and we were just like Winans, man. Everything was sports. We had football, basketball, baseball, track, gymnastics, tennis, in the Bronx.
Nice.
And I played football, basketball, baseball, and I ran track. Back then, they let you do what you wanted to do, and I achieved Athlete of the Year. We won the football championship that year. We were the first football team in the Bronx to beat the Catholics.
Nice.
And I'll never forget the next day, St. John's couldn't beat Kennedy Knights with a pope, a bishop, and a Paul.
Oh my gosh.
The apostles for them to beat us, But when I left Hofstra, I played ball at Hofstra, then I had to try out with the Jets, the Cardinals, and the Braves.
Hold up, I got to stop right there. You had professional tryouts in multiple sports. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, it was God's will for me to be where I am, though, at the same time. I had a couple accidents, blew my shoulder out, and that was it. But, again, things happen for a reason.
Yes.
So as I share with these guys, when you go to college, they're using you, so you have to know how to use them. That's the tool.
Absolutely.
Sports allowed me to get a free college education. Can't beat that, right?
No.
And at the time I attended Hofstra, it was only about 4 or 5 Black guys on the football team.
Okay.
But after that year, there were a couple more that came on.
Excellent.
After they were able to see what we were able to do, And then after I graduated in 91, I started working in a boys' home. I went to college to be a sportscaster, communication.
Okay.
Doing what you do, right? So back then, I did a couple of interviews with the Jets, and you just kind of learn that it's not what you know, but it's who you know if you want to get ahead in that field.
Of course.
So all my life I've been working with kids. The summer youth job, I was a counselor working with kids, and I was working a boys' home again with kids. So one of my friends introduced me to teaching.
Okay.
And I said, he teach? No way. No way. But I went when it was in Brooklyn, East New York.
Okay.
Woo!
That's a challenge. That's a challenge.
You make it there, you make it anywhere.
So are we talking late 90s Brooklyn?
Yeah.
We're talking Biggie's Brooklyn. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So, I started there. Mr. Hodge was working there too at the same time. And we had some challenges there, but then we came together because there were a bunch of teachers there that were brothers of color. And we just kind of met and decided, you know what, we going to make a difference. you know. And we did just that. And the principal was most appreciative of what we did. And then she just kind of told me, you're going to be an administrator. And I'm like, no, I'm good right where I am. And she was just that woman that don't take no for an answer. And she just placed me in the program, and that was it. Then I transitioned to an elementary school, another area where I was telling the superintendent at the time, the little ones are not for me, you know? And he's like, Mr. Sibblies, I need you here. I think you would do well here. And I fought. He placed me there. And it was actually the 5 best years in education for me right there, simply because you were able to see how kids develop these necessary skills and how foundation is so relevant for you to excel later on, because you build on it as long as you learn the necessary skills. You're not reading by 3rd grade, you're almost finished.
Wow.
You know, and then back then the 4th grade reading score is what they use. The data from that is what they use to decide how many prisons they're gonna make.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so that's how they generate these prisons from 4th grade reading scores. All right, so I was able to observe these teachers, and I tell you, elementary teachers are one of the most creative people you ever associate yourself with. You know, those teachers know how to modify, how to pretend, just make learning really fun.
I've always respected them, Sibs. As a parent, I've sat in on many parent-teacher conferences in the beginning of the year where they lay out their business plan, and they'll say that, you know, Johnny's in 1st grade, and by the end of the year, he's going to go from word recognition to reading chapter books. And I'm like, okay, how are you going to do that? But then, you know, as an administrator, there's a very specific business plan and processes that they go through. And by the end of the year, Johnny is reading chapter books. And I've sat there as a parent, and I've looked around and I said, okay, I run a business, I know how to do this, but how are you going to pull this off? And they do. So I have great respect for educators and teachers and how they plan and how they execute their plan.
Yeah. So to me, to really sit where I am and experience every level right now, you know, I feel most comfortable. I started off in middle school, then I went to the elementary school, and then I transitioned to Winans to high school, you know. So it's a pleasure just being able to have that experience behind me, so I can certainly speak directly to the truth, to the teachers, you know.
Absolutely.
Can't talk over me or around me, because you know, you experience, you know, it says a lot. It's priceless.
It speaks volumes.
Yes,
it speaks volumes. So we started with last year's school year. We went to the beginning of this school year. We talked about the absence of the budget, the vision, how it came to pass. We talked about the good things we're able to get done, and how the invisible enemy, the pandemic, COVID-19, took that away from us. But you and I talked probably a month ago at 11 o'clock at night, and I was asking you, what are you thinking about the graduation? And you had a few things you were working on. And I know you didn't get exactly what you wanted, but what you did those last 2 days between the parade up Straight Path and up Jamaica Avenue, and then the actual ceremony that happened on Saturday that was safe, social distancing in the car, that was beyond my imagination, beyond what I conceived that you guys would have been able to pull off.
Well, you know, first of all, you want to give these kids everything they deserve. That's just simply what it is, you know. They worked hard for it, and they should have it, you know. Same thing as with my own sons, you know, when they succeed in class, whatever they ask for, you just feel open heart, you worked for this, you should have it. And I see our kids the same way. This year was quite an experience, going to each home to deliver those yard signs, driving around with some great group of staff that I have. I tell you, none of this is possible without the staff I have around me, man. I tell you, they're some of the most amazing, caring, passionate people you could find. They weren't paid for any of that. That was all voluntary.
Wow.
So that's a rare thing. Miss Shannon and Miss Lloyd, they took this senior class and they did it on their own,
Wow.
due to the budget. They weren't able to get paid, but they still moved on for this class. So you got to be aware. All right. And there's a couple more of those in the high school. So we did the lawn signs, and that was great. And then we did the drive-through, and that was great. I love the party van you had there. I wish I knew Devin was your goddaughter. She was a pleasure to have. She's a really good girl, And the only thing that bothered me is those students that weren't able to come, without vehicles,
Okay.
There's always that part of it that just gripped me, because everything you plan, you feel like somebody's going to lose out. So how can we help those,
Absolutely.
And some of my staff was ready for it, they were willing to take the ride with them, again, so they can have a memorable year. Graduation, that was like no other,
Yes. You were on the stage doing the electric slide. I enjoyed it.
I just realized that after a while, what am I doing here?
No,
But,
you were celebrating a well-deserved moment. I want to go backwards for the listeners that may not understand the yard signs. So, Mr. Sibblies, you actually delivered class of 2020 graduate signs to each student in the graduating class, and you took pictures with them, and sometimes the family was there, and sometimes there was more than one sibling. That is such a personal experience, and at the end of the day, whether they made it to the parade or the ceremony, they all had personal closure to their school year.
Right.
I noticed I was very attentive to all the details at the graduation. And I noticed with the commencement, you had the right word up there. I think you ended with the words, the beginning, because that's certainly what it is. It's not the end of their journey in school. Right. It's the beginning of the rest of their lives. And I thought that was incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what our job is. Our job is to ensure that we give them the tools and the skills necessary for them to transition for the beginning of their success, to move on. And sometimes people are always talking about college,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a good thing. But some of my kids is not for college, not about college. But that doesn't mean they can't be successful. I let them know how much I need my barber, how much I need my plumber, how much I need my electrician, and you could be successful with that, just owning your own businesses, So we promote that also in the high school, and I wish to all your alumni out there, my biggest wish is that we still had that mechanic shop, that wood shop, that metal shop. These are so necessary right now for me to keep these students in school.
Okay, so let me do this. I hear what you're saying loud and clear. One of the most successful graduates of having access to those things owns and operates a business in the wine dance community. And offline, you and I are going to take the steps to create an internship program that connects at least 1 or 2 students to his business every year so they can see that, because he is a product of that wood shop, and his artistic skills, his graphic ability comes out of it. I think you might be wearing a shirt that's designed by him right now. I'm talking about Byron James, the logo
Byron.
king. Yeah, Byron, the logo king. So he's an output. You talked about electricians. I spoke to a long-term Winans resident alumni who is in charge of the electricians unit, and he's responsible for everything from the 50s in Manhattan all the way up through Harlem and Dyckman Street. So we have alumni in a lot of places, and you and I will talk offline because they all want to do something. College was the right path for me, but I don't think it's the right path for everyone. The
Right.
trades are always going to be there. We cannot function without electricians, plumbers, landscapers, painters. You know, we can't function without any of them. And in nothing else in the past 100 days, I've become a big proponent of YouTube University. Anything that you desire to learn, it is a YouTube video away. So if you have a smartphone, you can learn how to do it. It's a good place, low cost, to invest a little time to really master a new skill and just do it. My middle son started 2 or 3 businesses, I don't want to miss it, during the pandemic because he developed new skills and he fulfilled new needs. He helped people with masks. Now he's doing, personally designed shirts, customized things. So the opportunity is there for everyone, and you don't need a lot to get started. So certainly we'll pick that conversation up online. Right. So we're coming up on our time, but let's talk about the future. We talked about the past. We talked about the present. Talk to me about the conversations you're in now and what the expectations are for the 2020-2021 school year. I know it's early. We're having this conversation. It's July 2nd, 10 o'clock at night. I know we're a long way away from September, but from where you sit and what you're hearing right now, what's the expectation for school resuming as normal in September?
Well, we're not a long way away. Believe me, it's around the corner. The funny thing about it is, how they're looking for us to tell them what we're doing.
Okay.
Whereas I feel you should be telling us, I'm talking from the state, what we're actually doing. You don't start bottom up because we can create something and you'll knock it down. But more so because, they know what the new policies are that's going to be rolled out and, things of that nature. And you're looking at almost every month, there's a change, So right now for me, I'm looking for us to get back in the building. And so you guys know, that's what this all came from. I decided I'm not cutting this off until my kids are back in the building,
Nice.
Got hair on my head now, I haven't put a razor to my head until my kids are back in that building, so the budget was passed, so hopefully, we can do some things. And I talk about the budget, we're just not getting what we're supposed to get, guys. And, it's important that we come to a realization of that. It's not about equal, it's about equity, all right? Equal, I could give everybody $20 right now, but some people's rent more than the other. Some people's car note is more than the other, What I mean by that for me is we have one of the largest special ed groups, that costs much more. I have E&L students that need extra support, that costs much more. When you look at other schools that have maybe 1%, we have 53% Hispanic, okay? So when we're not properly funded, then, students take a hit, When you have classes with 30, 40 kids, that's a problem, It impacts learning. So as we're transitioning September, as you indicated, it's, are we in or out? We're planning for both, all right?
Okay.
The plan be in place for both. And so until we hear more in regards to where the state stands with this new policy pertaining to COVID-19, then we're just planning for both right now.
Excellent. And I think that's where everybody is at. I know I'm in the same place with my business. We began this conversation, well, in the middle, we talked about COVID, that you thought you'd be shutting down for a week or two. That's what I thought in March. I thought I was going to close for a week or two and come right back. Here we are almost 4 months later. Next week will be 4 months where we haven't been able to open, and we're left to figure out a lot of things on our own. And I think the whole world that we have to become very familiar with alphabets that we didn't have to master before. We have to watch what the CDC says and the World Health Organization and all these things, and obviously keep safety first and health first. But together we will figure it all out. Mr. Sibblies, Paul Sibblies, you have been an amazing guest on Wind Down with Kev. I appreciate you being here. I forgot to ask you what's in your glass. What do you have?
I got a Yankee glass, of course.
Got a Yankee glass. It looks like a champagne glass, but I don't believe you have champagne in it. What do you have in there?
This is, I'm Jamaican, so this is a little iced tea and orange juice.
That's a beautiful thing. But what you got to educate me? What do you call that iced tea and orange juice?
Sibblies drink.
Sibblies drink. That's all right. Well, as a toast to the island, I do have an island drink here. I have a little Malibu rum and a little pineapple juice. We're just winding down, having a relaxing conversation. But I do want to toast to you, to great success, nothing but peace, blessings, happiness to you and your family. We pray and hope for all good things for the Wyandotte School District, and everything that you put your hand to, we hope and pray that it turns to gold.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And pray the same thing for you and your business. I pray God bless you abundantly. You have the right spirit, and you have been a real pillar in the community. I know where your heart is, and more than anything, just the spirit of who you are is what allowed me to, be the type of person I am when, I see you around. I'll never forget when I first started the school uniform, and you came 6:30 in the morning to welcome those kids in. I never forgot that. And you were just so happy and thrilled, just so, about who you are, Yes. And I really appreciate that. I really do. And thanks for all you're doing for the community. I see you trying to make a difference in everything you do. And as I indicated, man, God is going to bless you abundantly.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Your mouth to God's ears.
All right, brother.
Peace.
All right.
It's Kevin Spann, the insurance guru, signing off, winding down with Kev. Talk to my good friend, Mr. Paul Sibblies.
Thank you for tuning in to Wind Down with Kev. You can find Kevin Spann, the insurance guru, on Facebook at AKS Insurance, Instagram at Kevin Spann _insurance guru, and on Twitter at Kevin Spann Guru. Have a topic you would like to discuss or a guest you would like to see on the show? Send Kevin an email at kevinspann@allstate.com.